As we move deeper into this election season, you're going to see a lot of evangelicals and the political representatives they support talking about what Christians should do with power. The evangelical Christian nationalist movement is designed specifically to take American laws and culture and mold them into the shape of Christianity. It's the not so subtle subtext when evangelicals talk about making America great again. What they're really saying is they want to make America Christian again. But the one big problem with that is not everybody in America is a Christian. Some people hold their beliefs in other faiths, and others simply just don't have any religious beliefs at all. But Christian nationalism aims to make everyone in America submit to the laws and principles of Christianity. In a country that's rooted in the freedom of religion, this seems like a vast overreach of power. But to those evangelicals advocating for Christian nationalism, it doesn't matter. So, as always, I want to go to their scripture and point out what Jesus did when he was faced with power. John 13:3 gives us a really good look at this. It says, Jesus knew that the Father had given everything into his hands, that he had come from God and that he was going back to God. So he got up from supper, laid aside his outer clothing, took out a towel, and tied it around himself. Next, he poured out water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet and to dry them with the towel he tied around him. Just for some context here, this is the final stretch of Jesus' ministry. He knows he's going to be captured and he knows he's going to be crucified. And that scripture says in that moment, Jesus knew that all things had been handed over to him, that he had all authority, that he had all power. So what does Jesus do in this moment of realization of all power and authority? He lowers himself. He makes himself a servant. He washes the stinky, nasty feet of his friends, the ones he had been hanging out with, and the ones that were about to betray him. Reading the evangelical Bible, it seems to me that Jesus' idea of power is to lay everything down and serve those around you. It wasn't to hoard it up and wield it over people. It wasn't to seize government control and force people to act and think like Jesus did. To Jesus, power meant servanthood and sacrifice. Now you tell me, the evangelicals that are fighting for Christian nationalism, the evangelicals that are saying they need to take the country back for God, you tell me, does it look like they align with Jesus on what they should do with power? To me, the answer is pretty obvious. Nothing about Christian nationalism aligns with Jesus. And any evangelicals out there claiming they need to take the country back by force, by any means necessary, to make this nation America more Christian, clearly doesn't understand the God they claim to worship. If you haven't heard this yet, maybe I'll be the first one to clue you in. Christian nationalism and the fight to make America more Christian has nothing to do with Jesus, and it has nothing to do with God. Christian nationalism is a counterfeit scheme propagated by people who claim to follow God, but actually know nothing about what the Bible and Jesus commands people to do. It's a sick perversion targeted towards those Christians who don't know how to or choose not to think for themselves. It only took us a minute to see how Jesus viewed power in the Bible. Why is it taking a lifetime for these evangelical leaders to come to the same conclusion? Maybe it's because Christian nationalism actually has nothing to do with God, Jesus, or the Bible, and it has everything to do with corrupt leaders manipulating Christianity so that they can grab power and wield it over you. Send this to your evangelical friends that are bent on implementing Christian nationalism. Let's see what they have to say.